Hello, and welcome to a Volo's Monster episode of How to Play D&D, the explainer podcast of one experienced dungeon master and one fellow scriptwriter to discuss D&D topics. I finally said discuss. My name is Kinsey, and I'm proud to say my guest for the entirety of this series is none other than Abby from Tabletop Curiosities. Hello, Abby.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us.
You have chosen the monster as well. So we're doing a little switcheroo again this time, and I'm going to do a better job.
Abby's actually no, you can't do a worse job than me. Abby's actually taken over the podcast, and this is our way of telling you. Abby's just found that out as well. So there we go.
I got the job.
You can have it. There's no transferable skills. The piece of paper just says help. That's what the job description is.
So, what creature are we discussing this week?
Leucrottas.
Let's get to it.
Okay, so today's episode is on Leucrottas. Like the lazy version of a griffin, it's a spiteful mongrel with no love to give. Abby, I want to keep up to date on all of my favourite shows, but I've only got sellotape, a HDMI cable, and a pair of glasses. What am I doing?
Oh, could you make something work there? Maybe if you had a potato as well. That could be the missing link.
Yeah, or like a lemon, to power it all. But I mean, these questions aren't for a genius to work out. It's a non-genius who wrote them. So you can't stabilize madness. All right then.
Not.
Oh no, I've tried. Or the doctors did. Abby, this is all you now. This is your questions. I've got to be under pressure.
You tell me, why did you pick the Leucrotta?
I picked the Leucrotta because I think it's a very good low-level creature that people probably have never used. And that's simple as that. Simple as that.
Yeah, so you're thinking, as an encounter, as something to sort of see along the road to sort of challenge people?
Yeah, I'm thinking that this is really good. Earlier in the season, it's something where townfolk talk about the beast of, the beast of Bob Moore, that kind of thing. And this is the kind of creature that you're going to come across. It's like dog-like, which is very much kind of like British Isles folklore of seeing the black dog in the night, the ghost dog, that kind of thing.
True.
So I absolutely love that. It's a large monstrosity and it's chaotic evil. So this thing isn't something to be kind of played with. It very much is kind of like taking people in the dark. Townsfolk looking for it, villagers going missing, but his stat block, which I know we're going to stats in a second, his stat blocks reflects the idea that you think this is the creature that you're looking for, but it's not. And I think that's why it's a really good kind of twist in a story.
We love that sort of stuff, don't we?
Definitely. We love
that
it.
Little twist and surprise. So what's the stat block saying? What kind of stats does the Leucrotta have?
Yeah, so we'll go with the AC and HP to kind of prove the point just then. The AC is 14, so it's, at a low level, you're quite likely hitting it. The HP is 67. So, all right, okay, level 1. Yeah, level 1, 2, and 3, it will be a struggle. It can be done with the right rolls. And then anything above that, I think will be great. I think the higher level your party is using that kind of story aspect of people going missing, this might be the beast. I think the idea that it's not it and that its HP is that low is a really good moment at the table where everyone looks at each other like, that was it. And then you realise, do you know what I mean? There's more killings happening. This is kind of like a pack rat. I really like the idea of that.
Yeah, and obviously they have quite a lot of that pack sort of vibe as well. So I imagine you'd maybe encounter a couple of them to up that challenge a little bit if you needed to.
I think so. It's weird because going back to the stats quickly, the languages is Abyssal and Null. So it is something that's been created. It doesn't actually describe that here, but it has been created. And it speaks Null. So it does speak kind of to kind of dog-like pack creatures. But it doesn't say that it has pack tactics or anything like that we expect to see on these kind of things. It's got a keen smell, so it's got an advantage on wisdom, perception checks. It's got a kind of kicking retreat to kind of disengage as a bonus action.
Ooh.
It has mimicry. It can mimic the cry of animals, sounds, and human voices. Bear in mind, it doesn't speak human, doesn't speak common. So it's an interesting thing that it can do it if it wanted to, and it requires an insight check to know that it wasn't that it is a
Ooh.
mimic, like a mimicry or mimicry, as it's titled here. It can go on a rampage. So when the Leucrotta reduces a creature to 0 hit points with a melee attack on its turn, it can take a bonus action to move up to half its speed and make an attack with its hooves. So it can finish off the job if it requires to, or start on the next animal.
That is very much a finish him moment,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, and this isn't like I said. This everything about that feels like it would be a pack animal, but nowhere does it describe it to be that. So it's an interesting thing. I do think it's meant to be a bit of a myth, and maybe if people
Mm.
roll high enough, they do witness this thing exist. And I think that's why I see it down as like like a folklore animal rather than just a group of them.
So that's perfect to get us into our next question, really. With that folklore in mind,
Yeah.
how does a DM use one of these guys in their games?
Yeah, so I think it would be really good to kind of, a lot of sessions or one shots or campaigns start with kind of people entering a new place via like a train or a horse and cart or a boat or whatnot. And I love the idea that like you could be already on your way to the location. It's kind of like that kind of grim, dark, gothic village, and you've only got like wanted posters of this like undescribed. The beast is described, but there's no visual reference to go off. And I like the idea that people have talked about it. People are going missing whilst you're solving the mystery. You could be a lot. There could be a lot of considering it's like dog-like, but it has hooves. I think there could be a lot of kind of like misleading information
Mm.
that people can give, or like if they're tracking something where they find hooves, the party won't think it's their creature to begin with.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah, I
mean?
like that puzzle. And yeah, the
Yeah,
NPCs being like, well, I saw hooves, well, I saw a snout, and it being like quite frustrating to figure out at first.
yeah, and it's not a common creature. People, I mean, I've only heard of this through going through the book to find stuff with you to like look for what works on this season. Like, I can see this creature almost being the back burner. You think you're going there for that mission, but actually you get into like a murder investigation instead, and
Yeah,
you at first think because you've been sent here to do this to find the creature, don't have a name for it, then that's what you think your mission is. And actually, it's a murder. This is more important. So I think that's a really good way to kind of do like story A, story B, one shot, or even a campaign in a small kind of like smoky town. I think that could work
yeah,
nicely.
yeah, that folklore kind of vibe as well, where it's actually, a murder of something far more sinister, where you think we're just having a nice investigation. And it's
Yeah,
a nice starter as well because of the stats and the way it is. It's a good starter fight to kind of get you into something a bit more chunky later.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Um,
Love that. So we've kind of said like you've not encountered one, but we've got a good example there of how you could maybe sort of add that into the game.
yeah,
Um, that's the end of our questions. But most importantly, as we know about Volo, this season is all about him. What does Volo have to say about these guys?
yeah. Okay, so the Leucrotta's horrific hodgepodge body oozes a stench most foul. So
Ooh.
he's kind of like throwing shade at it rather than this is a terrifying creature. So it doesn't come across as scary as what it actually looks like when he describes it.
But I mean, that's also a part of it where, people keep saying about this disgusting smell
Yeah,
that
yeah.
keeps coming about. And then maybe, Volo did a little song about it. Wait, any opportunity to get Volo in the campaign, guys. Come on.
I tell you what I've just thought of is I wish I can't remember the name of it. It's the Beast of something, and I'll put it in the show notes. The story, but there is actually a famous story in France in like the 14th, 15th century where the I think it's King Louis, one of the King Louis, actually requested. He offered a crazy amount of money for anyone who could find the beast of. And that beast, basically, goats started going missing, and then sheep, and then children who were farming the sheeps and goats.
Mm.
And then people all around France and across Europe were trying to basically get this ransom. And famous hunters of the time arrived in this town to find the creature. And A lot of them died trying to find it. This is supposedly a true story. This is actually in like the history books. And a really famous hunter found it with his son. His son died, and then he took the creature back to Paris to show the king. He was celebrated, and then the killings carried on happening. And basically, the creature he took back was a hyena, and they assume some kind of French royalty at the time, had lots of animals from all over the world, like kind of imported to France, and had released it where it was dangerous, and then it had managed to get out of wherever they were staying in their town, go to a smaller town where there's farmland and animals, and kind of had basically set up a lair. And so that's actually a true story, but they've never actually been able to fully describe what the creature was because they don't think it was the right one. And I think I'm
Mm.
thinking from reading this stat block, that's what the Leucrotta is based on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with like the mystery of it. And like you said, it could have actually been the creature or it could have actually not.
Yeah,
It's both.
the reports, the way they describe it, it's like this gigantic wolf, bigger than anything they've ever seen. But his face doesn't make sense to a regular wolf. But maybe that's because it's a big wolf. Um, they weren't paws, but then the people it was killing had scratch marks. So it basically the descriptions for all the witnesses were describing this thing in completely different ways, and that makes sense to Leucrotta to be like this kind of like abomination of animals we know.
Yeah, definitely. I love that.
Well, there we go. Um, yeah, so there's plenty more on it to look at for this that involves Knowles and Yenagu's kind of material plane stuff. But sorry for going on a deep dive there and being a history nerd. I just thought that was really helpful with people trying to explain this thing in their work games. Today's adventure is sadly come to a close. We'll be back again next week with the topic: do animals keep track of human years, or are we all just guessing? And as always, thank you for tuning in. If you'd like to join in the D&D action, then please follow us on Instagram at HowToPlayD&D, or check out the link in our bio to join our Discord server. And also check out the Black Mark Clo on Instagram for cool D&D clothing. Abby, what do you do and where can we find you?
I am a dice maker. I make custom dice. You can find me on Etsy, Instagram, TikTok at tabletop.curiosities.
Amazing. I've been Connor Kinsey.
I've been Abby.
Good day.